So, without any further ado, we're right on 7 o'clock, and I am so thrilled to share this presentation on the Windmar and the Pea Patch. And this is our opening and closing slide. So, all the way over on the left, you see the the tent, the tarp over the birch trees, and just a bar all the way to the lower right to the Pea Patch, and I'm going to take you on that journey and on a few sidetracks because this part of the chain is really the focal point for our identity. So if we start with the whole idea of the Pea Patch sign saying best burger by a dam site, and Charlie and Inez P said it was the best fishing by a dam site. We need to go and look at some of the history of the dams before the Windmar or the Pea Patch came into existence. So, first of all, the Chippewa River Improvement and Log Driving Company was part of the Weyerhaeuser conglomerate, and it was run by a corporate leader by the name of Henry. He created this first dam. We have two images of the first dam, and you can see the gates that are above them that are very narrow. The dam head is not very high. And as we look at a lot of records, folks were commenting in the historic review that this dam had to be rebuilt, and it was to a much more robust dam that could hold back 16 feet of water. So here's the dam that will be built afterwards. This dam was probably built in 1900. You see at the very top of it the big steel wheel, and that would be used to lift the massive gates now compared to the small dam gates previously. And here you see the Mississippi River Logging Company that was right in this area. Another Weyerhaeuser pool or shell corporation. The Chippewa Lumber and Boom, another Weyerhaeuser outfit, will take over this property because in about 1900, Weyerhaeuser was de-escalating his business interests in logging within Wisconsin, and he was moving to Washington State to spool it up there. But in this one, you see the dingle, but you also see those big cog wheels there and the large chains, and they would actually have a lever they would put down, and they crank the gates open to show you the water rushing through on the right. Ultimately, in 1912 and 1913, we see the Chippewa Flambeau Improvement Company will take over the operation of the dam. And if you look at the right, you see that there's actually a log running through the sluice over the Rest Lake Dam. And below, Michael Dunn has left us another insight that's really important. He said that a few families clustered around the dam, which had deteriorated and even was left open for a while. The landing where the boats met travelers was located on the present Ilge property. Horses, ponies, and wagons were kept there. And a man named James McKinney kept a tavern there before 1910. So that's a little insight into the first bar. It won't be the Windmar or the Pea Patch, but again, it's all central to the dam site and alike. So on the far left here, you really do see how the dam is beginning to deteriorate. You can see the parts of the bridge falling off the top. Here, there's no water and it's running slack. And in 1926, a brand new cement dam was put into place, and that was really quite a big renovation for Manitowish Waters, the dam, and the development of this area. And at this point, we see the beginning of what is the Windmar. In 1924, the daughter of Walcott Johnson, the Rest Lake dam keeper, used the Johnson's property that would be Winnie Young, and she and Marie Zimmerman create the Windmar. First with this little tarpaulin over birch poles, and then later more of this screened in kind of fish cleaning shack that was a bar and sometimes a restaurant, certainly a store with a stovepipe in the back and a little bit of gas. These are the humble beginnings of the Windmar that ultimately becomes the Pea Patch. Notably, Emil Wasaki will be the contractor that will build later iterations of this. Here's a postcard from that very early time, and it said, "This is Winnie's store at the end of our little road. As you go out to the main road, you can buy everything you want from here." What an enthusiastic endorsement. Now, as we look here in the 1920s, after the logging had subsided, this is kind of the business area of what will be the emergence of Manitowish Waters. So the Windmar will be here, Schrader's restaurant will be here. This is the Northern Lights, and that's the Tower Tea Room up here in the upper left. If you look as far as what happens with the Windmar, early on, the Windmar is across from the location of the Pea Patch near where music is in the park is, and until 1945 when it burns down, and then it migrates to its present area of location and ultimately where it is perched now on top of the hill. So the Windmar moves around and changes quite a bit. As you take a look here, this is pictures from the Brown family. Patience Rocky and the Byrams provided this. So we have Winnie and Marie marked by those arrows with Theodosia Brown and her children, Anne and Theo. Now, the cabins they use there, and when we talk about the Windmar and the Pea Patch, there is some separation from time to time between the cabins themselves and the bar and establishment. But as you can see here in these pictures, the Johnsons let Winnie and Marie take the old logging camp and they turned them into cabins. You can see this. This is the Browns cabin. It says Brownies right up here. You can see where they added a screen porch with the roof line in the upper left, and they were using those, and then we'll repurpose these buildings later on. Here's the Brown family out swimming by Rest Lake Dam, again purchasing things at the Windmar tarpaulin, and then ultimately going on canoe trips and enjoying all the Northwoods life. The Windmar continued, we see, with the seventh annual opening and into the Great Depression and operated straight through the Great Depression. I might note that this was a seasonal operation and was rarely would be used for anything that would go into the winter months until much later. The Windmar Girls, you can see it on the sign up here on top of the their business, and you see Purell gasoline with automobiles pictured on the right and the gas-operated outboard motors and some inboard motors at this time, though gasoline was really quite a commodity and important. Notice how the architecture and the redevelopment of the Windmar concept goes forward. Here we see on the left the same sign from the previous picture is hung here, but is clearly a different store. You're looking here, what is up County W, would have been Highway 10 back in the day. There's the Northern Lights across the dam, and all the business is on the side of Rest Lake, closer to where music in the park is. Here you see, flowers out in front, window awnings. It's truly becoming more upscale as time goes on. So there's this constant improvement that's happening. By the late 1930s, 1940s, you could see the area where the stairs are pretty much the same, where you access Rest Lake from County W in town. But you see the Windmar had a walkout passage right in that area, and it was certainly doing a great business and growing in the footprint. There is also businesses happening across the road at the time, and many of the cabins are on the below the dam on the Vance Lake or Dam Lake side. And here's Marie Zimmerman smiling with Dick Larson. And here you can see they have a masonry step there, and so they continue to improve them also with flowers on either side. It had become quite a destination. And just before the fire, this is the look that we had both inside the bar and outside the bar. But as I mentioned, there are a lot of other things going on. And the cabins go through a transition, moving from those old logging cabins and stables and blacksmith shops that were converted into cabins. Uh, Now, truly, three-season cabins were being put all along the dam lake side and below the dam that would be part of the Windmar cottages. Um, we see on the left, again, they were not used in the winter, but I had to throw this one image in here from the old days. Based on these icicles, they were heating the old logging camp cabins way back in the day, and look at how they had to shovel to get in there. You could clearly see how folks maybe didn't want to spend the winters in the Northwoods, and a three-season approach to business was better. This was before all the fun we have with snowmobiles. So the fishway and the fish lock and the hatchery will be added at the dam and will be kind of part of the feature there. Should cover that briefly. The bar fish lock started in 1931. It is this concrete casement here by Harry Barr from Ironwood. And they actually had to put a barbed wire fence around it because people were trying to catch the fish that were going up the fish ladder or fishway or fish lock up to the upper side. And here we have a fyke net where they're actually counting and measuring the fish that are coming up over the dam. This was all part of the effort of improved conservation during the Great Depression and attracting tourists, which were scarce in the Great Depression, to come to the area. And then above the fish lock, you see at low water, as we had just until a few weeks ago, we could see some of the pilings for the old fish lock that were sticking up from the dam repairs that we had over the winter. The Manitowish Waters Fish Hatchery started in 1932, first municipal fish hatchery, right in the footprint there where the Windmar was. And it was a point of great community pride. And this is the interior with all the different eggs that would then hatch. And then these fingerlings would be raised in this area. And then those would be added to the Manitowish Waters Fisheries to have folks come up here and have a great time. But after 1945, it's going to be difficult because in the Windmar at least, because it burned down. It's a $15,000 loss here, and it was completely wiped out. With this fire, what occurs is the Windmar then migrates over County W and then heads on the other side of the road toward Dam Lake, where the Pea Patch is today. But initially, the building that they constructed, as you see on the right, was moored down by the dam. But it wasn't long before they moved it up the hill, perched it right where the Pea Patch is today. And that building you're looking at there is still part of the bones of the modern Pea Patch. That building is in the current Pea Patch. So, and there's a lot of additions on additions, as Barry shared with me as we collaborated on this presentation together. This is really kind of a neat element of our slideshow. The Stegmillers and the Judkins are a family, and they brought their friends and guests up. But Alan and Irma got married in 1949, and you can see them eating wedding cake right here with Winnie and Marie and celebrating. And we're going to follow their pictures over several years and seeing the whole arc of both the Windmar and the Pea Patch. So there we see another happy couple. The Windmar ultimately moves up, and it gets planted right into the footprint. Again, you can maybe see over here that other building that was down by the dam that they pulled up there, but certainly it was taking on its current location and much of its present form. But again, the gas pumps were also present within their operations. Bob DeLavi, a local resident, was always known for having a very hot motorboat back in the day. This is around 1955 below the dam, and he had other boats that he would race around and use. Also, a fishing hotspot was below the dam, and you see people fishing there all the time once fishing season opens. But back in the day, there used to be the fish refuge sign right here. The spawning grounds were protected, and no one could come within 500 feet of it. Again, all part of that kind of stewardship that was so important in keeping our fisheries intact and quite strong. Now, as you take a look here, you can actually see in the dining room part of the Pea Patch today this plaque on the back wall. And this is from the MW Fire Department, at which they say here, but it's actually a fire company, but the sign says Fire Department. And it says, to Winnie and Marie, the best girls by a dam site. And site is spelled SIGHT. And they have this great picture of the dam operating. By 55, the fish hatchery is gone. And it really shows the strong sense of community support and help in fundraising and alike that will be a constant thread through Winnie and Marie, the Peas, the Deckers, the Schmidts, all the way to Lisa and Barry. So as we go forward, there's a little murky point here within the ownership. If we look at this document here on the left, it appears that this Dick Hill gentleman bought the bar, restaurant, and all the cabins. But as we look at the ads, it seems that the blue spruce, Dick Hill's blue spruce, was probably just the cabins, and that all reverted back to Winnie and Marie. So this was probably some kind of a land contract arrangement. But for a while, the Windmar and the Pea Patch, could have been not part of our history. But before long, we will see that Winnie and Marie take over all of it. And in 1961, Charlie and Inez P. purchased the Windmar bar and cabins from Winnie and Marie, ending their tenure at about 38 years on that site. What an impressive run, and what a great tradition and legacy. But the really cool part about it is that that legacy is going to be advanced forward, and the P's come from California. Charlie had ended a military career. His brother was up here and said, hey, you should buy that place. And he did. And ultimately, it will become the Pea Patch, as you see here, and Charlie on the left and Inez here. And this is all from the Judkin collection. We're operating the beloved establishment in its new locale, and now with its new name and identity. So the Judkins and the Bartell families come up in 1965 and 1967, and we get a lot of images here. If you look at the lower right, you can see the dam, and this was a big beach area that was very much accessible just down from the pier that the canoers use. And, large lawns, easy access into the area of Dam Lake, swing set equipment, a little different than the look today. But I was actually around as a little kid, and I remember the dam area at that time. I love these two pictures set together. Again, this is the Judkin family. So here they are coming out of the bathroom where it is today. And there you have the 5-cent postcards, which was a tradition in all the stores at the time. And the bottom of the Blatt's beer sign and the Ham's beer signs, these were telltale elements of that age. And the Wurlitzer jukebox was was a standard. And who knows what kind of music would be playing in 1967? Would it have been the Beatles or maybe something leaning more toward a country western theme like Johnny Cash? Wasn't there that day. So the Judkins bring their guests up the Bucks, and now we get a good view from their collection of the cabins. And these are very, very nice cabins. You can see they're well kept and very much immaculate, and all in the tradition of having a great Northwoods experience on the property. So the Peas, grab the reins on the property and really keep it at a very, very high standard. In 1976, I love these pictures. We see the Judkin family here again. Charlie's getting a little older. There's Inez, and they're they're running the bar. But if you remember, when you walked in the door to the left, there was the old duck hunt game. These two ladies are playing that, and they have the 1976 sunburn because none of us wear our sunscreen back in the day, and that was all part of getting ready to get your first burn for the summer. At least that's what I was told by my father. The Stegmillers and the Judkins continued to enjoy Cabin One into the 1990s. As I'll cover later, the Peas will actually keep one cabin to rent until they were done in the 1990s in the area. So here is Eric, Alan, and Matt at this point. And we see the Judkin family really showing us how Dam Lake was a very special place to spend a vacation and a key part of the whole Pea Patch campus, as it had been during the Windmar campus, but the trees are growing up. Importantly, just as we saw with that sign in the Pea Patch from the fire department of the fire company, Charlie and Inez P were very much involved in the community. If you take a look at the left, here's Charlie P as the Citizen of the Year, and to the right, he's the Lion of the Year, and we have Liberty and Justice for All with the Lions Club and these patriotic themes. And they did fundraising and were beloved within the community. And again, kept the Pea Patch operating at top standards. As we look at the memorabilia that comes from that time, we have some old key markers from the resort, and of course, the best fishing in northern Wisconsin by a dam site, and I mean we have variations, best burger by a dam site, and alike. It's all part of the fun. And the Pea Patch ads, we kind of span it over time. Here's 1961 and here's 1978. And we're getting close to the time that we're going to reach the end of the Peas tenure in owning the Pea Patch and its operation. But what a fantastic run and what a great contribution to our community. This article that you see here that was done in 1997 does a great job of really telling the story of Charlie and Inez. And you can find that in the Manitowish Waters Historical Society in our archives under Past Perfect. If you just go to advanced search and you type in Charlie and Inez Peas, this will come up in your search and you can read all about them. Again, as I had mentioned, the Peas retained their house and kept on coming up here until 1998 after Barry and Lisa took over and actually rented one cabin. So, they may be sold in the late 70s, but they're still in the game. All right. But indeed, they sold this to the Deckers. They purchased the Pea Patch Tavern in 78. And we see a 1979 ad here, John and Lorraine. And they are proud owners of the Pea Patch and really continue the traditions of Charlie and Inez and maintain it as a fine, fine destination. They had a bit of a comic relief. As you see in this one chamber ad, they said, we got cold coffee, warm beer, and inverted, they say, lousy food. This is from the 1981 booklet, but I was there in 1981 and we spent a lot of time in there after ski shows. And I can tell you, the Pea Patch was great under the Decker family as it was before. In 1982 and 83, the Decker's daughter and son-in-law operated the Pea Patch under the name of Captain Mikey's Pea Patch. And it operated for just a short time, a couple of years under that identity. And another transition happened in 1979 to 81. As I said before, we see that Bruce and Joyce Nett take over the resort part of this. Okay, so the resort cabins, not all of them, but some of them are subdivided, and then this is run by the Nett family. So the Pea Patch barn itself has been separated. In 1984, a lot changed. Judy and Jerry Schmidt purchased and operated the Pea Patch. Judy is just left the community after running the Schmidt House Realty, running other businesses, certainly ran the Pea Patch, operated other elements, but these are the very beginnings and the grassroots of this. And her husband, Jerry, and Judy were just loved the Pea Patch and alike. What happens in 1985, though, Judy and Jerry are all in and they say, we're going to run this establishment, but we're also going to open up a realty business. And they initially opened it up on the left side of the Pea Patch, and they operated out of that side. So they are really going full forward into the property and expanding their business opportunities within the area. Here you see on the left a very happy scene of Judy and Jerry, but tragically, in 1986, Jerry unexpectedly passes away. And again, this is just such a difficult time and a tragic loss. And what Judy does is continue to run the Pea Patch, but with the help of Gary and Diane Walschlager. And they're there from 85 to 86. And in that time, Judy is, maintaining Schmidt House Realty, this property, and doing a lot of work. But the Pea Patch is going like gangbusters during this time, and was an exemplary operation in spite of the difficulty. And then there's a big addition that's put on, but one of the big additions is that Judy has a new spouse in Bud Arnold, and they come together and they buy into the Pea Patch Saloon, but now they add the motel to the saloon. You see the big blue arrow here, and it makes a real impact. It brings the housing element back to the tradition of the Windmar, though constructed slightly differently. Here you see the 1988 motel groundbreaking, several contractors there with Bud Arnold and Judy's sister, Patty Roberts. And of course, Judy, all smiles at that time. I found this in the Capital Times from August of 1988. It says, change your air conditioner. And it said, as luck would have it, the Pea Patch Saloon, our first stop to rinse out US 51 road grime, had added the word motel to its matchbook covers. Last year, they added a 10-unit motel to the saloon. A room at $40 a night is one of the best bargains on the road today. So this is, again, a new chapter. And as you go into the winter of 1988, there you see it with a big wreath on it and all those 1988 style pickup trucks and cars right there. So this is really an expansion of the footprint and the identity, but also getting back to the Windmar itself, the Stegmillers and the Judkins are back again with their friends, the Schulers. Here they are in 1989 and celebrating as they had from their wedding day. I just have to do a shout out to the families who share images like this with us. They help our archivist, Barb Bartling, put this together for me. And then I can add that with what we got from Barry and Lisa and other people. And this is really what makes our presentations so much stronger and vibrant, and it helps us preserve our heritage. So a big shout out to all of those who share your photos and histories. But back to this, Judy's sister Patty Roberts and Kurt Potter all operated the Pea Patch over the time of Judy's operation of this, and again with Bud. In 1996, the Pea Patch is sold to Barry and Lisa Hopkins. Lisa grew up in Manitowish Waters, met Barry through Barry's roommate, Brad Laporte, and they went out to Crested Butte. And in Crested Butte, they learned a lot more about the hospitality industry. And Crested Butte ideas and concepts really will color many of the elements of the modern Pea Patch under Lisa and Barry. This is the ad from the first year. I underlined it. You know, they had their operation and they were taking over. Importantly, Charlie and Inez are still here, so look at how young they are. The young kids who are taking over the business, and certainly, Bud and Judy we're in between them. But again, it is kind of a fraternity of those who are owners of this property, and it's really quite special, and that's why it's a special Manitowish Waters story. And as you bounce over the different ads through the chamber booklets, we see the evolution of the business under Barry and Lisa. What some people may not remember, but the Pea Patch has, with Barry and Lisa, had been involved in a couple of activist movements, believe it or not. The biggest example of civil disobedience in this town's history was a reaction against dam operating orders that were coming from the DNR and other regulatory groups. And there was talk of lowering the water level and changing the operating order for the dam. So the citizens of the town, and based out of the Pea Patch, and food and drink were provided by the Pea Patch. They got buckets from below the dam, as you can see, passed them up the hill all the way to the top. Here you have Skip Scrobot handing it off. This is Fred Tyson, that's Terry Tyson there, Chuck Kramer, Rita Mazer, and they dumped it in on the other side. Again, this was a symbolic protest, but ultimately this will be resolved in 1915 under state statute. And even right after that was resolved, and we have now negotiating a memorandum of understanding with the DNR, in 2017, immediately a comprehensive management plan was launched within Manitowish Waters from a litany of different interest groups, and one of which was Barry and Lisa at the Pea Patch. They provided food, and Barry was instrumental at the grassroots level of getting this started. And this management plan is really kind of the guideway that we follow going forward today as we try to manage the chain with all the interests that we have in the North Woods. So at the end, I have a little run here of all sorts of things. Fascinating traditions, and this little gentleman seems to be enthralled in all of them. So I'm just going to bounce through a bunch of slides at the Pea Patch of fun, sports, seasonal celebrations, first responders supporting our community, snowmobiling, games with chance music, skiing, skeeters, and friends. So let's take a little ride. So it's important to have fun at the Pea Patch, whether it is theme parties on the left or a really big Bloody Mary with a beer back, or Lisa excited about her Dr. McGillicuddy's. Over here on the left, you see a winter experience with Chris Sinberg, Mike Cohen, and Bob Scrobot pushing Lisa down the skis in a chair. The two gals on the right are incognito, but they're on a double bench. This is all part of the fun. And celebrating uh, 23 years and their co-workers and alike with the pig roasts or other kind of events is all part of the fun and celebrations that stand out at the Pea Patch. And as you look here, whether it's the Sunday show on the left or girls' night on the right, the Pea Patch is a center for this kind of robust fun. And the Pea Patch Customer Appreciation Party has been going on for decades, whether Kohler Park or Rest Lake Park, sometimes in other destinations. You can count on every Labor Day Monday that we're in for a treat and a big thank you and some live music. And so with Lisa and Barry, you can tell here they are not passive owners in their business, and they have a great deal of fun. So what's better than fun? More fun. So let's have it. Great sporting traditions over the time, whether it's Lisa and her Packers on the left, in the middle, Barry and his Vikings, the softball crew up above, or the pool league in the lower right. Sporting traditions happen and are prized there. Honoring and supporting first responders has been a signature of the Pea Patch. You see Barry and Lisa on the right with a congratulatory 25 years with the fire company, and the fire company on the left, but all first responders, the EMS, police officers, sheriffs, and so on. This is important. And then reciprocally, first responders help out with a lot of the fundraising, and we'll see that through the slides. And in the next slide, we see at the Pea Patch the Harley raffle and the money that is raised, and that money is moved to the fire company from the snow skeeters. And seasonal celebrations. Here we have the Halloween collaborative pub crawl, and there we have our costume friends all at the Pea Patch. So why do you think they get so enthusiastic? Well, take a look at how Lisa has the whole place decked out. And seasonal celebrations are again part of that identity at the Pea Patch. But it's in the same spirit of fun that you saw with Winnie and Marie, Charlie and Inez, the Deckers, Judy, and Bud, and alike. Welcoming Oktoberfest, in full costume and appropriate music. Always a great time out on the deck and in the bar. Christmas and Christmas celebration. Everybody likes the holidays in the North Woods. And Bob Scrobot usually puts on for New Year's and other occasions too, great pyrotechnic displays right above the Pea Patch. And even have a little fun with the beaver across the street and transforming it into the Easter Bunny for Easter. Making a difference in the community is also really quite important. This pie is kind of an interesting story that kicks us off well. This pie is especially made for Barry. Thank you for your continuing support of our club as well as many others. That little writing there really does sum it up, making a difference for the community. And as I said before, from their time in Crested Butte, a lot of this fundraising came from ideas that they imported back from there, like the duck races. But the duck race may be silly, but you can see it's popular, it's fun, and it raises money for groups or people who are in need. That's like the meat raffle and liquor giveaway, and it's a lot of fun, and people enjoy it. And there are recipients in our community that are the beneficiaries of these kind of events that are so important. When we go with snowmobiling and Winterfest, I mean, this year, I mean, we all took a knee because it was so challenging with the lack of snow. And certainly the businesses and the employees struggled with that. But the Winter Rendezvous even went on this year. And, whether it's the raffle tickets on the left that you see Mary or the food in the lower right, are all the camaraderie and community. This is all part of that collaborative spirit that rings through there. With Winterfest, I really like this historic one, this historic slide very much. Because with the Clement sausage wieners here, you have Skip Scrobat and Cal Laporte. And they're all part of Winterfest, and they're the old timers, and sadly, they're no longer with us. But if you take a look at the right, this is a 1969 image of all the locals here, and Cal and Skip would have been there. And they're having their Winterfest on Fox Island with all their kids and alike. And it's nice that that can go forward and work well. All righty. And of course, the Snowmobile Club also continues its philanthropy. And here's $500 to the North Lakeland Elementary School 8th grade class, who goes on all sorts of fun trips and does amazing outdoor education. And then again, there's more grassroots local support for our kids. Games of chance. Yeah, over here you see a little dice action. You have Lisa, Bob Winters, Chuck Laporte. I think that's Bob wrestling a chicken for the Chicken Square event. And over here is the shake of the day, which is certainly a standard at the Pea Patch. As we speak of music, and many of you know of Lisa and Barry's love of music, but you may not be aware of the roots. So Lisa's grandmother was Anna Mae Laporte, and she was a classically trained violinist. She had been in Texas. You can see her in an accompaniment here in Memphis, Tennessee. She also was in Milwaukee and performed and ultimately came back home here. Participated in the Rhythm Queen Band and also a group called the Kitchen Band. And here you see her performing here to the right. And you maybe can see a little family resemblance in the image on the lower right. I certainly can. But this love of music comes from that. And we see the Laporte music traditions continue at the Pea Patch. There's Lisa and Marlene with the stump fiddle, a classic instrument from back in the kitchen band days. And they're at Oktoberfest and various events, which is all part of the fun and celebration. But music in the park was started by Barry and Lisa. Again, as reported by Barry to me, this was something that also came from his time in Colorado. And look how it has grown. People flock along the shores, they park up and down the roads, and it is just a great shift in the presence of our town. And as you look at it over time, you know, the people coming by water, being next to the dam, having this great new stage, operating both at night now and during the day. Music after dark became more and more popular, and ultimately we'll find that the whole sponsorship of music in the park has grown and grown and grown. If you take a look above the stage here, many of the top donors are honored at that point. And it really shows how this is, again, another community spirit that that is all driven by the hard work of Barry and Lisa and frankly, others. But back at the bar at the Pea Patch, many area musicians are performing there several times a week. There are performances. And again, that goes all the way back to Anna Mae Laporte and keeping music in our community. That is important to our identity. The Manitowish Skiing Skeeters, the Pea Patch has been a long time sponsor, and it has continued to do so during the time of the Deckers all the way through Judy and Bud Arnold and Judy Schmidt, and certainly with Barry and Lisa. The memorabilia of the 1966 and 68 barefoot tournaments are up there, and also images of barefoot water skiing phenom Caleb Fireheisen and others. So this is my second to last slide. Loving the Northwoods and celebrating life. There's Barry and Lisa. They have continued the Windmar tradition with gusto going forward. I don't know if they have 10 more years in them so they can tie Winnie and Marie for the amount of time on that spot. I hope they do. But I'm hoping down the road somebody else from the Manitowish Waters Historical Society will do a Zoom presentation or whatever kind of presentation about how the great traditions on this little spot next to the dam of Rest Lake continue. And we can look back to those very early iterations of the Windmar and a very simple tarp with a bar behind it and some birch bark uprights. And that is my presentation. And I am going to stop my screen share. And I am going to take a look at the 49 participants who are here. And if any of you have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask me. How's that?
Well, this is Patience Byram, and I'm not sure that I have a question, but I have a memory. My first paid job at the age of 13 or 14, which would make it 53 or 54, was to clean the bar at the Windmar. And as a result, I've never smoked and I hate beer.
Thanks so much, Patience. Any other memories or questions or thoughts?
Hello, this is Gary and Judy Ertel. The question I have, I wrote in the chat, where up the chain was Weyerhaeuser logging when they built the Rest Lake Dam?
They were logging from below Eau Claire, Wisconsin, all the way up into the upper reaches above the above Boulder Junction. And I'm going to be doing a presentation at the MAC on May 29th on the Rest Lake Dam. And I'm going to go into that in super detail. But yeah, Weyerhaeuser and his syndicates, and that's just basically all the corporations that him and his other logging interests developed, ran the River Drive logging. They were far less interested in the railroad logging. That comes later, but he got his cutting in and it was pretty much done by 1902, and he was trying to exit out of here. But he reached far and wide. And, you know, he was taking only white pine because they could only go down the river. The red pine all will be taken out by rails, the hardwood and the other softwoods. I don't know if that answered it.
So was he flushing them then down the Manitowish River?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there were dams.
Do they ever run into any old lumber that he logged in the river?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of those remnants. They're even stamped logs, and because they use stamp hammers. That's a presentation I'm doing tomorrow at the North Lakeland Discovery Center, and I'm also going to do that presentation on the dam, like I said, at the MAC at 1:00 on May 29. And we also have a podcast. No, we have a YouTube video on that you can get from our YouTube channel. And you could always reach out to me too, and I could give you lots of very granular details on all of it.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. Any other questions? No other questions? Well, I want to thank you all for joining us in our third and final Zoom presentation. See you this summer. Bye-bye.